Welcome back to Who Immortal Today, where we don't just tell stories, we bring them to life. We celebrate lives, honor legacies, and uncover the hidden truths that time can never erase. In today's emotional episode, we're diving deep into the hidden world of Hollywood's golden age stars, revealing 11 shocking secret collections that will completely change the way you see these icons. These untold truths will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about these legendary figures. We've all admired the dazzling performances and the glamour of Hollywood, but behind those smiles were lives filled with complexities, heartbreaks, and secrets, some of which remained hidden for decades. Until now, from rare photos to intimate revelations, we'll explore the personal collections that reveal how fame illuminated their paths and sometimes cast long shadows over their lives and families. Prepare to see sides of Hollywood's brightest stars that even time couldn't erase. These stars gave us so much, their joy, their art, their love. But in return, many walked difficult roads, facing unimaginable challenges. Some transformed over time, while others left us too soon. Yet, every single one of their stories still matters and deserves to be remembered. If you're moved by these untold truths, be sure to like, comment, and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Which story surprised you the most? And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss a tribute. Let's begin this unforgettable journey together. News 1. Clark Gable, a legendary star with a controversial obsession with exotic animals. Clark Gable, often hailed as the King of Hollywood, remains one of the most iconic figures from the golden age of cinema. With his rugged good looks, unmistakable charm, and unforgettable performances, particularly in Gone with the Wind, Gable captured the hearts of millions and became a symbol of masculinity and elegance in the 1930s and 1940s. However, while Gable's career and personal life often made headlines for its glamour, one aspect of his life remains more controversial: his fascination with exotic animals. This lesser-known facet of Gable's life centered around his collection of wild, exotic pets, particularly lions and tigers. He reportedly had a deep fascination with these powerful creatures, keeping them on his private estate in the 1930s and 1940s. While it's not unusual for wealthy individuals of the time to keep exotic pets, Gable's choice to house dangerous large cats raised eyebrows in the press and among animal welfare advocates. His lions and tigers were not the only exotic animals on the estate, as Gable was also known to have other wild creatures, all of which were housed in conditions that raised concerns about animal cruelty. The real issue wasn't just about the ethics of owning wild animals, but also the risks involved. The very idea of keeping such powerful creatures as pets brought up debates on the safety of both the animals and the people around them. There were growing concerns about the dangers of living in close quarters with unpredictable creatures like lions and tigers, animals known to pose a serious threat to humans, even those who had raised them. The glamour of Hollywood clashed with the darker reality of such animal collections, highlighting a disconnect between the stars' public personas and their private indulgences. Ultimately, Gable's exotic animal collection remained a troubling detail in his legacy, one that continues to cast a shadow over his otherwise celebrated career and life. Despite this, his contributions to Hollywood remain monumental, leaving an indelible mark on film history. News 2. Errol Flynn, the dashing star with a dark obsession for alcohol. Errol Flynn, the swashbuckling heartthrob of Hollywood's golden age, is remembered for his daring roles in films like The Adventures of Robin Hood and Captain Blood. With his rugged good looks, charisma, and effortless charm, Flynn became the embodiment of the adventurous leading man. His performances captivated audiences, and his off-screen persona was just as legendary, marked by his wild lifestyle, numerous love affairs, and partying ways. However, Flynn's life was as tumultuous as it was glamorous, and his passion for the bottle was one of the darker aspects of his personal story. Flynn developed a deep and troubling obsession with alcohol, particularly with collecting rare and expensive bottles of liquor. What began as an interest in fine spirits evolved into a dangerous and self-destructive habit. He would often stock his home with costly bottles of whiskey, scotch, and brandy, amassing a collection that reflected his status and desire for luxury. But his fascination with drinking didn't stop at collection. Flynn's indulgence in alcohol became increasingly excessive. In fact, it was linked to his growing reputation as a heavy drinker who would drink himself into oblivion, often to the point of losing control. While some celebrities of the time might have indulged in excess, Flynn's drinking habit escalated, overshadowing his career and personal life. As his addiction worsened, Flynn's once brilliant career began to suffer. His alcoholism led to erratic behavior, health problems, and deteriorating professional relationships. His declining health ultimately contributed to his untimely death at the age of 50 in 1959, just a few years after his career had fallen from its peak. Errol Flynn's obsession with alcohol and his penchant for collecting rare bottles of liquor paint a tragic picture of a man who had everything, yet was slowly consumed by his own demons. His legacy is one of paradox, the larger-than-life screen hero who ultimately succumbed to the very vices that fueled his self-destruction. Despite his remarkable career, the dark obsession with alcohol remains a key chapter in his complex life story. News 3. Marilyn Monroe, the iconic starlet and the hidden struggle behind the glamour. Marilyn Monroe remains one of the most enduring and tragic figures in Hollywood history. With her radiant beauty, breathy voice, and magnetic screen presence, she became a cultural icon representing both the allure and the fragility of fame. From Gentlemen Prefer Blondes to Some Like It Hot, Monroe captivated audiences and left an unforgettable mark on film and fashion. But behind the dazzling smile and platinum curls was a woman battling deep emotional pain and personal demons. One of the most disturbing and heartbreaking elements of Monroe's private life was her growing dependence on drugs and prescription medications. While it was known that she struggled with anxiety, insomnia, and depression, fewer people at the time were aware of just how severe those struggles had become. According to several accounts, Monroe kept a secret collection of powerful medications, including barbiturates, sedatives, and amphetamines, many prescribed by different doctors, often without coordination. This hidden pharmacy in her home reflected more than just Hollywood's casual relationship with pills in the 1950s and 60s. It was symbolic of Monroe's desperate attempts to manage the pressures of fame, her mental health issues, and the relentless demands placed on her as a sex symbol and star. Rather than offering relief, her reliance on medications seemed to deepen her isolation and contribute to her emotional instability. Tragically, this secret collection played a central role in her untimely death. On August 5, 1962, Monroe was found dead in her Los Angeles home at just 36 years old. The cause? A suspected overdose of barbiturates. Her death shocked the world and cemented her legacy as both a symbol of Hollywood glamour and its most heartbreaking casualty. Marilyn Monroe's story is a haunting reminder of how fame can mask profound suffering and how a hidden collection of pills can become both a coping mechanism and a silent countdown. News 4. Orson Welles, a cinematic genius with a darkly controversial collection. Orson Welles is celebrated as one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. Best known for his groundbreaking work, Citizen Kane, a film still regarded as a masterpiece in cinematic history. With his deep voice, commanding presence, and fearless creativity, Welles revolutionized storytelling on both screen and stage. He was a true innovator, unafraid to challenge the conventions of Hollywood and push artistic boundaries. Yet beyond his brilliance, Welles harbored interests that have sparked controversy over the years, most notably, his reported fascination with artifacts from Nazi Germany. According to various accounts, Welles had acquired a private collection of memorabilia and historical items from World War II, including some connected to the Nazi regime. While there is no indication that he sympathized with the ideology, the very act of collecting such items struck many as deeply unsettling. At a time when the horrors of the Holocaust were still fresh in public memory, Welles's interest in these dark relics of history appeared to some as macabre, even disturbing. Nazi artifacts, swastika-emblazoned flags, military regalia, propaganda materials, are widely viewed not only as symbols of hatred, but also as reminders of unimaginable suffering and genocide. To collect them, even from a historical or artistic standpoint, walks a fine line between education and offense. Some biographers have suggested Wells viewed the artifacts as part of a broader interest in the psychology of power, tyranny, and propaganda, central themes in much of his work. Still, others question the ethics and taste of keeping such items in private, especially when detached from educational or historical context. In the end, Orson Welles remains a towering figure in film, a master storyteller who reshaped modern cinema. But the existence of this controversial collection adds a darker layer to his complex legacy, reminding us that even the greatest artists may carry shadows behind their brilliance. News 5. James Dean. A rebel with a haunting fascination for Hollywood's departed. James Dean, the eternal symbol of youthful rebellion and tragic brilliance, left a profound mark on Hollywood despite his brief career. With only 3 major films, Rebel Without a Cause, East of Eden, and Giant Dean became an icon of misunderstood youth, vulnerability, and raw emotion. His smoldering screen presence and offbeat charisma made him unforgettable. But behind the legend was a young man deeply sensitive, introspective, and fascinated by death and legacy. Among the lesser-known and more unsettling aspects of Dean's private life was his reported collection of personal items belonging to deceased celebrities. While some saw this as a way of honoring the stars who came before him, others found the nature of the collection unsettling. Dean was said to have acquired intimate memorabilia items such as handwritten letters, old costumes, and in some cases, even locks of hair. To many, this fascination crossed the line from respectful admiration into something more morbid and obsessive. Friends and biographers have noted Dean's preoccupation with mortality. He often spoke about the fleeting nature of life and was drawn to tragic Hollywood figures who, like him, had burned brightly and died too young. His collecting habits, though never widely publicized during his lifetime, were seen by some as a reflection of his own inner turmoil and awareness of his mortality. That eerie sensitivity proved tragically prophetic. James Dean died in a car crash in 1955 at the age of just 24, cementing his place among the very figures he once idolized and memorialized through his collection. Today, Dean's disturbing interest in the personal relics of the dead adds a haunting layer to his legacy. It paints a picture not only of a gifted actor on the rise, but also of a soul quietly wrestling with death, fame, and the fear of being forgotten. Ironically, something that would never come to pass. News 6. Betty Grable. America's pinup girl and the morbid rumor that shadows her legacy. Betty Grable was one of the most beloved stars of Hollywood's golden age. Best known for her iconic World War II pinup photo, famously taped in soldiers' lockers across the globe, she was more than just a pretty face. Grable was a talented actress, singer, and dancer who lit up the screen in musicals like How to Marry a Millionaire and Mother Wore Tights. Her charm, energy, and girl-next-door appeal made her a household name and a symbol of American optimism during wartime. But behind the glamour and the glowing smile lies one of the strangest and most disturbing rumors ever attached to a golden age icon. According to unverified reports and whispered accounts over the years, Betty Grable allegedly had a dark fascination with human remains, particularly skulls. Some sources claim that she kept these grim objects in her home, not as part of a medical or scientific interest, but as a private and macabre curiosity. Though there's no concrete evidence or credible documentation to support these claims, the rumor has persisted in Hollywood lore, casting a surreal and unsettling shadow over her otherwise wholesome image. To many, the idea of America's sweetheart keeping human skulls in her home is difficult to reconcile with the bubbly, all-American persona that defined her public life. If true, it would reveal a fascination with mortality and the morbid that sharply contrasts the colorful musicals and smiling posters she's best known for. However, it's important to note that this claim remains speculative at best, with no confirmed proof or credible witness testimony. Whether myth or fact, the rumor itself adds an eerie dimension to Betty Grable's legacy, a reminder that even the most radiant stars may harbor mysteries behind closed doors. Regardless of speculation, Grable's contributions to film, music, and morale during a pivotal era in American history remain enduring and deeply cherished. News 7. Jean Harlow, the platinum blonde and the dark mystique of her jewelry collection. Jean Harlow, Hollywood's original platinum blonde, captured the imagination of audiences during the 1930s with her sultry performances and radiant beauty. Known for her roles in films like Red-Headed Woman and Dinner at 8, Harlow became one of the most iconic sex symbols of her time. Her looks were as unforgettable as her on-screen persona, and she quickly became the face of Hollywood glamour. Yet beyond her sparkling career and dazzling image, Harlow's personal life held a fascination with dark, even eerie elements. One of the most unsettling aspects of Harlow's private life was her reported obsession with acquiring rare, expensive jewelry. While this is not unusual for a star of her caliber, some of the pieces she allegedly owned were rumored to have sinister histories. It was said that some of the jewelry in her collection came with the shadows of their previous owners' tragic fates pieces that were rumored to be cursed. Stories surrounding Harlow's collection of jewelry suggest that some of the pieces had been owned by individuals who met untimely, often violent deaths. There were whispers of diamonds and pearls that had belonged to other high-profile stars or wealthy socialites, each of whom had suffered either personal misfortune or a premature demise. These rumors fueled the belief that the jewels themselves carried an aura of misfortune, passing from one tragic hand to the next. While there is no verifiable proof that Jean Harlow believed the jewelry to be cursed, the speculation around these pieces added a layer of mystique to her life. The idea that a beautiful, glamorous star would be drawn to objects with such a dark history raises questions about her own belief in fate, luck, and the supernatural. Did she collect these jewels for their beauty, or did she feel an eerie connection to the tragedies that surrounded them? In hindsight, it's clear that Jean Harlow's own life was tragically short. She died at just 26 from kidney failure, leaving behind a legacy that was as radiant as it was brief. Whether or not her jewelry was truly cursed, the whispers surrounding her collection of rare gems only served to deepen the mystique of a woman whose life was marked by both brilliance and tragedy. Harlow's story, like the jewels she adored, continues to shimmer in the shadows of Hollywood history. News 8. Hughes, the haunted genius and his obsessive hoarding of body parts. Hughes was a man of extremes, a towering figure of innovation and eccentricity whose legacy spans aviation, Hollywood, and business. As a young man, Hughes was a brilliant entrepreneur and a daring aviator, setting records and revolutionizing the film industry with movies like Hell's Angels. But as he aged, Hughes's genius was overshadowed by increasingly bizarre and disturbing behavior, culminating in his notorious reclusiveness and obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD. One of the most unsettling aspects of his final years was the disturbing rumor that Hughes began hoarding body parts. It was said that, in his isolation, he collected preserved human organs and other body parts from various individuals. Some accounts even suggest that these items were stored in jars or glass containers, locked away in his private residences. While these claims have never been definitively proven, they have remained a part of the dark lore surrounding his decline. Hughes's obsession with body parts seemed to be an extension of his compulsive need for control. As his mental health deteriorated, he became fixated on cleanliness, germs, and decay. His paranoia grew to such extremes that he would often wash his hands repeatedly, avoiding contact with people and objects. The hoarding of human remains, if true, would have mirrored his obsession with controlling his environment, attempting to preserve life or stave off his overwhelming fear of death. These rumors, disturbing as they are, offer a glimpse into the tragic end of one of America's most influential figures. Howard Hughes's legacy is a complex one, brilliant, visionary, and haunted by an uncontrollable darkness that consumed his later years. News 9. Elizabeth Taylor, the screen legend and her hidden cache of prescription drugs. Elizabeth Taylor was one of the most glamorous and celebrated stars in Hollywood history. With her violet eyes, commanding presence, and unforgettable roles in films like Cleopatra, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, she captivated audiences for decades. Known for her beauty, boldness, and public romances, Taylor's life was as dramatic off-screen as it was on. But behind the jewels, the fame, and the spotlight, she battled deep personal struggles, chief among them a long and difficult relationship with prescription medication. Taylor was no stranger to physical pain. Throughout her life, she endured numerous health issues, including chronic back problems, surgeries, and injuries. These ailments, combined with emotional turmoil and the pressure of fame, led her into a cycle of dependency on prescription drugs. Over time, it was rumored that she developed a fascination with the medications themselves, reportedly amassing a private collection of vintage prescription pills, some of which she had taken during her most difficult periods. This alleged collection was not just practical, but deeply personal. It symbolized a lifetime of managing pain, both physical and emotional. Pills for sleeping, for waking, for pain, for nerves, each reportedly kept as if preserving chapters of her life that she could never fully leave behind. Like Marilyn Monroe, Taylor became a symbol of how Hollywood could glamorize beauty while masking suffering. Though she would later seek treatment and speak openly about her recovery, the rumors of her vintage pill collection linger as a quiet, unsettling footnote in her story. They serve as a reminder that even icons carry invisible wounds, and that addiction, especially when wrapped in fame, can leave behind haunting remnants long after the cameras stop rolling. News 10. Vivien Leigh, the tragic beauty and her obsessive archive of love and loss. Vivien Leigh, the luminous star best known for her iconic portrayal of Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, remains one of the most captivating actresses of the 20th century. Her delicate beauty, commanding presence, and intense performances made her a legend of both stage and screen. Yet behind her extraordinary talent lay a deeply complex and often tormented soul, plagued by mental illness and a haunting attachment to the past. One of the more unsettling details of Leigh's private life was her obsessive collection of letters, diaries, and personal notes, many of them from past lovers, including her famed and turbulent marriage to actor Laurence Olivier. Friends and biographers have noted that Leigh would revisit these documents repeatedly, sometimes spending hours reading through old love letters and mementos, lost in memories of what once was. Her fixation wasn't merely sentimental. It bordered on compulsive, reflecting her difficulty in letting go of emotional connections long after they had faded or fractured. This archive of passion and heartbreak became both a comfort and a burden. During periods of mental and emotional instability, likely linked to her struggle with bipolar disorder, Leigh's obsession with these keepsakes reportedly intensified. In one emotional episode, it said that she destroyed parts of her collection in a fit of despair, tearing up or burning letters that had once meant everything to her. The remnants of this once cherished collection stand as a haunting reflection of Vivien Leigh's inner world, a woman adored by millions, yet privately consumed by memories she couldn't release. Her story is a powerful reminder that even those who seem to have everything on the outside may live with a storm of longing, loss, and unresolved emotion within. News 11. Judy Garland. The voice of a generation and the shadow of addiction. Judy Garland, the beloved star of The Wizard of Oz, possessed a voice and presence that defined an era. As Dorothy, she gave the world the timeless anthem Over the Rainbow, and throughout her career she dazzled in musicals, films, and on stage. Yet beneath the dazzling performances and emotional depth was a life marked by relentless pressure, exploitation, and pain. A combination that led to one of Hollywood's most heartbreaking downfalls. From a young age, Garland was subjected to the ruthless demands of the studio system. MGM executives controlled nearly every aspect of her life, including her weight, appearance, and energy levels. To keep her working, studio doctors reportedly gave her amphetamines to stay awake and barbiturates to sleep, setting the stage for a lifelong battle with addiction. As she grew older, the dependency deepened, and her private struggle became increasingly public. Among the more disturbing and tragic elements of Garland's addiction was her rumored secret collection of drug paraphernalia. According to those close to her, she kept items such as syringes, pill bottles, and other drug-related tools hidden away, objects that became physical symbols of her dependency and inner turmoil. These items weren't displayed but quietly stashed, perhaps as a haunting reminder of the control substances had over her life. Garland's addiction took a devastating toll on her health, career, and relationships. Despite repeated attempts at recovery, she was never able to fully escape the grip of the substances introduced to her in childhood. In 1969, she died of an overdose at just 47 years old, her death marking the tragic end of a life that gave the world so much light. Her legacy lives on, but so does the sobering truth of her struggle, a cautionary tale about the cost of fame and the silent suffering that too often lies behind the spotlight. Thank you for being with us on this emotional journey through the untold stories of Hollywood's golden age. We hope these hidden truths resonated with you and gave you a deeper connection to these legendary stars. We'd love to hear from you. Which story shocked you the most? What legacy do you think still lingers in Hollywood today? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters here. If you enjoyed this tribute, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to tap the bell so you're always in the loop for our next episode. There are more unforgettable stories to come. Let's continue to honor these icons, not just for their fame, but for the lives they lived, the legacies they've left, and the humanity we all share. Until next time, keep remembering, keep reflecting, and keep celebrating the stories that time can never erase.